welcome to RTV's live coverage of the official launch of the digital court reporting system. Now, you may have noticed over the last year or so, we've covered this story quite a bit. It's a court system that actually is technology and a 21st century technology that will record what happens in court, and from speech to text they make a transcript. Like I've said, we've been covering this for quite some time, and it's the official launch. The judiciary is viewing it as a major milestone, and joining me now this morning is the Registrar Constance Delancey, who knows a lot about this system. Welcome.
Good morning.
We had a lot of conversation off camera. So let me ask you first, what is the digital court recording system?
The digital court recording system is a system that exists in each of the courtrooms where they will capture the record of the court. That meaning every testimony is given by witnesses, judges, lawyers who are attending a hearing will be captured by audio recording.
And we can see some people walking past the door. This is a big day.
It is. We are excited about this because it's been a long time coming. This has been years in the making. Although it seems like it's happening right now, this has been happening since as far away as 2015.
And this morning we have the official launch. We have the Chief Justice will be attending, the former Chief Justice, as well as senior justices and magistrates. They're all coming to see this official launch and what's going to happen. We know that it's digital, it's a recording system, but people are wondering what makes it different from having an actual stenographer in the courts.
The pace, I would start with that. When you are capturing a record by a digital recording, unlike having a human being sitting there and taking a recording, you don't have to take breaks, you don't have to stop so that someone can go and perhaps go and get lunch. You can actually continue the entire day with minimal interruption.
And a big part of the push would be in the magistrates' courts.
In the magistrates' courts, traditionally, there are no stenographers. Very rarely you would see a stenographer sitting and capturing the record in a magistrate's proceeding unless it's something of national importance. The magistrate in those settings actually have to sit and write in a minute book, longhand, and to try and capture the record. And depending on whether or not you can write verbatim or whether you're only able to capture the salient points, it makes it difficult to have an accurate record. It also makes it very difficult to have the records created in time for an appeal. So it slows the pace down.
And we were talking a bit off camera about our experiences. I have actually been a court reporter for most of my career. I do other things, but I usually cover court cases. And speaking of the magistrates' court, I've been in court when I've seen people actually, the magistrates, jotting down notes. And sometimes you wonder, how do you concentrate? Because court isn't just one person speaking. Court is multiple people speaking. You've served as a magistrate. How was that experience, trying to just write everything down and having a system in place that will take care of that for the magistrates?
Well, for a magistrate without a digital recording system, it's a juggling act. You are expected to capture the record. You're expected to understand what is going on in the courtroom, to make sure that you have a level playing field, to watch the byplay, to watch the demeanor of the witness. So it's extremely difficult for a magistrate to capture an accurate record. With a digital recording, a magistrate can now concentrate on watching the demeanor of the witness, observing what's happening in their courtroom. They can move through their cases at a faster pace because, as you know, most Bahamians, the only experience they ever have with the judiciary is in a magistrate's courtroom. And some magistrates may have up to 15, 20 cases a day on their dockets. It's extremely difficult to get through that kind of volume and capture a proper record.
And we also have it in the Supreme Court. Currently, and I think it's only for now, New Providence, Grand Bahama, and also Abaco.
Yes, currently we have them in all of the criminal Supreme Court rooms. We have 2 systems in Grand Bahama and 2 systems in Abaco. Sorry, 4 systems in Grand Bahama and 2 systems in Abaco. And what happens there is that it's, for example, in Grand Bahama, believe it or not, there's only 2 stenographers. And if you have a scenario where you have 2 Supreme Court judges, one on the civil side, one on the criminal side, and 4 magistrates, how can 2 people be expected to cover that kind of territory? And so what is happening is that in a lot of instances, the magistrates and sometimes the judges are left to revert to writing it down longhand, which is not very productive.
And you mentioned criminal courts. What about civil courts? And I think what I've understood is that if it's a very sensitive case, stenographers will still be in the court while the digital recording system, so you'll have a fail-safe kind of a backup.
We do. We do have a system where in the civil courts presently, one or two of our judges have been using the digital recording system, believe it or not. We have portable systems, so they have been using them. But for the most part, they have to be serviced by a stenographer. And the evidence in a civil case can be extremely complicated, especially if you're dealing with trust matters or matters dealing with complex cases like financial aspects, because we have a lot of financial institutions here in the Bahamas, and that litigation is heard by mostly, primarily, our civil judges. In instances where you have a matter of national security, or you have a very sensitive trust matter, you may not want to use a digital recording system, or you may want to use it in conjunction with the stenographer. So you do have that backup. The stenographer would understand the vernacular that the AI may over time take to capture and put into its system. And so you have both the digital recording, you have the rough transcript that goes from voice to text, and you have the backup of the real human being on the stenography machine. So we're doing everything possible to capture an accurate record, but also to make sure that we do it at a pace that keeps up with the evidence.
Speaking of capturing at an accurate, capturing it accurately, there is not just one mic in the court.
Oh no. This is not simply an age where you give a dictaphone to your secretary and say, here, speak into this little microphone. No. Microphones are set out in each courtroom in a strategic area. There's a microphone for the judge, there's a microphone for the prosecution, the defense, the witnesses, and even in some instances near the prisoner's dock where a prisoner may need to speak. Each of these microphones can also be muted, so that if they need to have a sidebar, they can actually mute the microphone so it doesn't capture what you do not want on the record, because it may be too sensitive or it may be something that ought not to be there. There is also the feature where the court clerk will monitor each of those microphones and can say to a person, prosecutor, speak up properly into the microphone. Judge, we didn't quite hear what you said. And so it's being constantly monitored and captured.
And speaking of monitored and captured, I got a chance to see, along with our executive producer yesterday, the deputy registrar, Ronaldo, got to show us how it works. Mm-hmm. It seems pretty accurate, but there may be a concern, Bahamians speak a certain type of way. Is it going to understand us? Is it programmed to understand us?
Well, artificial intelligence has come a long way even since we started this program and looking at what we would capture back in 2015. We have actually put together a dictionary in our system. In addition to that, the more you use a word, the AI captures it. And because it's a rough transcript, you can go in and you can fix those words that you weren't properly captured properly, like the word juk instead of stab. So they can capture those things. Because we do have little phrases that are unique and Bahamian. So we want to capture those words because you want to capture the accurate words of each witness, not replace it with another word.
I obviously know, I've read some statistics, it's a 90% accuracy rate. So that means the stenographer, from what I understand, or court reporter, when this is recorded, there will be somebody afterwards who has to go through it. So that being said, there was a concern that this system would basically make the need for a court reporter to not be in place. It would take their place, it would take their jobs. What do you say to those concerns?
Absolutely not. In fact, I actually asked that question when I first viewed the digital recording in another setting years ago. Mm-hmm. What happens to the court reporter? You can't replace the court reporter because the court reporter is going to understand the nuances of what happens in the courtroom, unlike the AI. The court reporter is going to go in and they would be able to say, okay, that wasn't captured properly, that word is not used in context. They're going to also be used throughout the system to capture, because we have a lot of matters that are held in camera that you may not even want it captured by a digital recording itself. that they're so sensitive. We have in the Bahamas right now, believe it or not, we have a cadre of 30 court reporters. Now, imagine you have a trial that lasts for a week. You can't have one court reporter assigned to that. You may have up to 5 court reporters assigned to that one case. And we have approximately 18 judges on the docket right now. We have 19 magistrates, 6 registrars. Do the math. How can 30 people cover it? So this is not a system that has come to replace our court reporters. This is to augment what we have and to make their job easier, so they can concentrate on the things that we need them to do, which is the finished final product, the official record, because they're going to be the guardians of that record, and they're going to be the person that makes sure that it's done accurately. So we actually need them to concentrate on what they actually were contracted to do: stenographic work, capturing the accurate record. So they're going to be the person who actually polishes it off and makes sure that it is accurate.
And you know, I have a story to tell myself. I always tell this story when I think about it. I will not say which case it was, but it was a case I covered, and I swear my daughter was 3. By the time it was finished, she was 6. I cannot count the amount of stenographers that we had during that entire case. And to be honest, a part of the problem was getting the transcripts. Seeing who was the stenographer on each day. So it was delayed. But when I spoke to the Chief Justice, the former Chief Justice, about the digital recording system, they are saying their hope or their vision for this is to not have cases move so slowly and not have to wait for transcripts to come through. Do you see that happening as well?
I do, because I'll give you an example of a criminal case. In a criminal case, once the evidence has completed and the case is closed, prosecution and defense has both had their say, the judge now has to sum up for the jury. In order to do that, the judge needs to go through and read through the entire record. So now he has to wait, or she has to wait, for the stenographer to type that up and send it to him or her. They can actually sit down in their office and they can listen to the audio, or they can read the rough transcript that has been generated by the speech to text. That actually speeds up the disposition of that case. If this case now goes from the Supreme Court to the Court of Appeal on appeal, the Court of Appeal has to wait sometimes months to get the transcript. That means the lawyers have been waiting for the transcript because they now want to go through it to do their summing up, to do their closing statements. So what we envision is that this is a tool that we will use to speed up the delivery of justice throughout the Bahamas.
And a lot of training, you just don't use the system.
Oh, no.
This has been a phased approach, so
Yes.
It's not just cold turkey, we're jumping into this. It's been years in the making.
We first started training on the system back in 2018 when we started the implementation. We put them in initially in the magistrates court and then in the criminal courts. And we have had trainers where we've gone and visited other jurisdictions to see how they use the system. We've had certified trainers come here to the Bahamas on a number of occasions to train at every level. The judge, the lawyers are introduced to the system, and especially our clerks, because our clerks are going to be the ones in the courtroom that are going to be monitoring and the document, the record as it's captured. And so we've had identified within the judiciary persons we call super users. We have a training session. So this is an ongoing thing. So every time someone is onboarded to the judiciary, they will have to be trained into this system. And of course, the more you use it, the more proficient you become at it. Mm-hmm. And like with every system, it's constantly updated. The software is constantly updated. And when it happens, then training is undertaken again. So the training is ongoing.
And speaking of training, the U.S. Embassy, U.S. officials, a special group in the U.S. has helped. Do you want to tell us a bit about that partnership?
So INL and the U.S. Embassy, they reached out to us when they realized that we were interested. And they helped us to identify a vendor, helped us to identify persons within different organizations like stenographers who've used it in the past, jurisdictions who've used it in the past. They put us in touch with experts. They assisted us procuring the hardware and the software. The National Center for State Courts, NCSC, has been playing a significant role along with us with ensuring that we have access to training and access to trainers. So this has been a collaborative effort. We all recognize that if the judiciary can be more proficient than the delivery of justice that mandate the judiciary has, we can actually carry that out in real time.
Speaking of proficiency and efficiency and getting things done in a timely manner, what about technology is not always 100%. What are some of the fail-safes if there is an issue with the system? Does it rely on the internet? Obviously, it relies on electricity.
Well, in each of our buildings, we have actually updated the data wiring. We have now Cat 6 WAN and LAN has been recently updated. So all of our buildings, including this building, has been updated. So we have hardwire as well as internet capability. We also, like I say, we capture the record in real time. We have 24-hour support, a phone call, an email away. We have been beefing up our ICT unit. They have been trained on the system, so they are here on the ground. And there are a lot of the problems that can actually be solved remotely. Doesn't need for anyone to go anywhere. So as the problems happen, and what we do is every morning before we actually start that day in court, you go in and check the system, check for sound, check to make sure the microphones are working, making sure that all the data is being captured. So we do have that system in place.
And one of the major features is speech to text. It sounds fun, it sounds quick. What exactly is speech to text?
Okay, so speech to text is where the audio is translated through a software into speech. And because we have each of the microphones have been designated, the AI actually types out in real time every word that you're saying with a 90% accuracy. So that within minutes of that hearing taking place, 5 minutes at most, we can actually print out for you an accurate transcript of what happened in that courtroom that day.
And speaking of transcripts, what is the difference between a rough draft and official draft transcript?
So the rough draft would be, if you're using a stenographer, that very first draft that the stenographer produces. It is read through primarily by the judge who's hearing the case. He or she would then recognize that there are certain things that might not have been captured correctly, and they work along with the stenographer to make sure that words are spelled correctly, the names of the persons are spelled correctly. With the AI and the speech to text, it would be the same thing. But the stenographer now has a written text to work from, as opposed to having to sit down in court, type it up, go back to their office, and then type again to produce that transcript. So they have that rough. Now, the formal means that it has been vetted, all the words have been checked for accuracy, spelling, etc., and now it's ready to be produced, and the judge has signed off on it.
Considering all that, would you say, I want to shorten out, DCR, Digital Court Recording System, do you say it's reliable?
Yes, it is. I can say that it is. Because like I say, this is not our first time witnessing it in action. We've seen it in other jurisdictions. That is why we were so keen to try it here in the Bahamas. Because we recognize that although we only have 30 court reporters, a lot of them will be phased out. And what people don't realize is that court reporting is a very unique skill. And the Bahamas, throughout the region and internationally, are realizing that there are fewer and fewer persons being attracted to that area. So we had to find a way to capture the record. We can't go back to the old way of sitting down and writing in a book.
So regionally, is the Bahamas one of the first? I know our partners to the north have been doing this.
Our partners to the north have been doing this, and I can say we are the first in our region. We have thrown the gauntlet down. We have a lot of our partners in, say, Trinidad and other jurisdictions who are capturing it, the audio. But we are the first brave souls to step out into that territory, not just to capture the audio, but to go from audio to speech to text.
And have others reached out? Are your regional partners, Caribbean partners, have they reached out?
They are. They're excited about this. We've been working along with our friends in Trinidad, Barbados, and Cayman Islands. It's been a collaborative effort. We've all been talking to each other. We're all excited about it. And I think they want to see how it works out. I'm looking forward to sharing this information and knowledge with our partners throughout the Caribbean.
So we want to, just one more question before we wrap up. what would you say? What would be one sentence you would say to people in the public to say, let's get on board with this?
I would say to the members of the public that if you want justice delivered in a timely manner, we have to be able to embrace the technology that allows us to do that.
Okay, well, I'm understanding that they are about to get ready and get started. It's officially here.
Yes.
The major milestone has reached. We understand that there is many big names inside the room, the Chief Justice, the former Chief Justice, like I said, the U.S. officials. How are they? You obviously work with them every day. How are they feeling about it?
They're excited. We were able to get Justice, like former Chief Justice Brian. He was always excited about moving the courts forward, and our new young Chief Justice, Sir Ian, has picked up the gauntlet, and it's been a seamless transition.
Seamless transition. Speaking of transition, they have both said to me in sit-down interviews, this is transformational. What do you see the transformation as?
I see it as being able to speed up the efficiencies of our process in the judiciary. That's how I see it.
Another interesting question, as I spoke off camera, I know that the judicial officers will have access to the recording system. Who else can possibly access?
With every system, we have put in place protocols at every level. So judge will have one level, clerk will have one level, and stenographers will have another. And then of course, we would have in the back room administrators who would have access to every level. So we do have fail-safes in place, and all this is being captured and stored in our server here locally in the Bahamas. So the data is not being stored somewhere else. So people are concerned about that. The data is being stored on the government generated network. So yes.
Training. You've also had people come in. We've also had people coming from the United States. Have people been trained here in case something goes wrong or they have to update a system? You know how technology is.
We have not only been training the judicial officers, we've also been training our clerks, our staff, and our technicians. And so we do have persons here in the Bahamas who can assist. And because they speak the tech language, they can communicate effectively with the persons overseas in case that goes beyond their capability.
So basically, this is a transformational thing. The court reporters will not be made redundant.
No, definitely not.
Because I know when I did the initial story, when it was on the way, they were, I guess, kind of
ambivalent.
Yes.
But
is there buy-in now?
Yes, there's been buy-in, and their feelings are not without merit. Because I've heard this not only from our stenographers here, I've heard from stenographers even in the north, where I visited. That was their first reaction as well, that they felt they were going to be phased out. And once the system got up and going, they realized that they weren't as tired anymore because they weren't being overworked. They were able to sit down and do the job more effectively. They were able to produce transcripts at a quicker pace. They were able to take that vacation they haven't been able to take because we're short of stenographers. So I don't see this as doing away with stenographers. I see this as beefing up the unit.
And what do you think your role has been in all this? I want to get personal now. What do you think your role has been in all this? Because I joked with this, when I was in downtown or dealing with court, you are always walking fast. So I know if I see Constance walking fast, something's getting done. So what has been your role?
Well, I came up from the Magistrates Court back in 2017, placed in the role of the Acting Director of Court Services. And the Court Services is where all of the work non-judicial happens. All the work on the ground, all of the logistics. When they first came in, I literally had to be in each courtroom as they set up the system. I had to work along with them in terms of the layout of each courtroom, for every single courtroom. We had to make contacts with all the various vendors locally and abroad. So my office in that vein was the hub, as you would, like a triage in A&E. That's what I would be doing. I'd call myself an emergency room doctor. Now I've transitioned from doing all of that. Now my brother, Deputy Registrar Tooth, is now the Acting Director of Court Services. So you see him running around quickly now. And I'm now the Registrar of the Supreme Court. So I have a dual role where I'm a judicial officer and the head of the department, meaning I do all of the administrative work as well. So my pace has slowed down a little bit. I still work very closely with my director. So you won't see me running around. That's his job now.
Okay, speaking of Ronaldo, I want to give a little tidbit. I don't know if you want to say how old we are, but we actually went to COB before it was UB, way back, 2003 to 2005. He was in one of my classes. So I'm also proud to see what he's doing, what you're doing, what the entire judiciary has been doing. He's also on this program. Today we have somebody from the National Center for State Courts. We have the Chief Justice speaking, the former Chief Justice speaking. We have somebody from the U.S. Embassy speaking. There's also going to be a video presentation of some of the milestones that have been happening. Right. What does it mean to have all of this happen today? Because you said your office was the hub, and you got to see from the infancy as it grew, and now here we are.
I feel like a proud mama today. It takes 9 months gestation, so now we've had years and years, and now we are delivering to the Bahamian public this product that we worked so hard on. I am very proud of our efforts, and I'm very proud Ronaldo, we were seamless in our transition. He picked up the gauntlet for this, and he ran with it. I am excited for him because he's put a lot of hard work into this, and if you want to put a toot, Ronaldo and I went to see him high school, Aquinas. So aces are in the room today.
I can take that because my husband is Catholic, so I can support a Catholic school. So speaking of which, technology and the judiciary, this is just one aspect.
Yes.
You've been in this system for so long. How do you feel that this is just we're moving towards being 21st century?
I can say that this is transformative because I started off as a magistrate. And as a magistrate, I had to write every single word, I tried to at least write every single word that a witness would say during a hearing in a minute book. Every minute book then had to be labeled for every case, every page. We had to capture all the questions and the answers and write it in. Every minute book then had to be labeled and then archived away. So we have a library, literally, of nothing but minute books on them. And so you have to mark the day you started that minute book, the day you stopped that minute book. Every page has to be numbered. When you ask for a transcript, you have to go through a number of those minute books just to find a transcript for one case. It could go over months, sometimes years, depending on the case. And now, to go from having to do that, and then, having your fingers all numb at the end of the day, to being able to have the luxury, if I could use that word, to sit there with the confidence that everything that's happening in that courtroom is being captured. It allows you, the judicial officer, to concentrate on your job, which is to make sure that everything is done on a level playing field, that you don't miss the byplay that might have happened while your head was down taking the notes, that you don't miss the expression on the witness' face when you were busy taking the notes. You have now that luxury of doing that. Plus, you have the luxury of, at the end of the case, hearing the entire record and being able to give your judgment in a timely fashion. To me, that's exciting.
It's exciting for me too because, I don't want to be sitting through a case for 3 years. Next, my daughter will be 16. But swift, timely justice, people think it's one component, but this will be a major. I don't think people understand unless you work in the court system or you cover the court system how important transcripts are to the entire process from the magistrate to the Court of Appeal.
And as a registrar sitting in this seat now, if you ask for a transcript, that comes through my office. I now have to go back in most cases and say to the lawyer, which judge did you appear before? What day or dates did you appear in court? Do you happen to remember the stenographer's name? I didn't send that information down to the stenography unit. They now have to go through all of that record, sift through all that information to try and find a record. And if they have not produced a transcript, they now have to go through and produce that transcript. And sometimes, depending on if it's been years, we only find a part of the transcript and not all of it. Some people may need a record to get as simple as getting a police record expunged. They may need that information. What was the ruling of the judge? They may need to get a police record to travel to Florida to go shopping. You may need to go to the Court of Appeal because you didn't like the outcome in the court below. That all stalls the process if you can't get access to that transcript. That person is locked up longer than they may have been, need to be locked up. So we have to keep that in mind, that justice must be efficient. It must be delivered in a timely fashion. Because if you do it in a slow fashion, that leads to injustices. And so people don't realize that.
I hope they really don't, and we wonder why it takes so long, but it's so many components to get to the end of a case.
Yes.
I know there's been, when I came yesterday to do a walkthrough, stenographers were being trained. I know some of the justices. Anybody else specifically being?
So we've trained our judicial office, that's our judges, our registrars, and our magistrates. We've trained all of our staff, both the secretary and the clerk. So there's a backup to the backup. We're training the stenographers. We've trained our IT persons. And literally anyone who is capable of learning and who can segue into the role. Because just because you started in one role, maybe as a filing clerk today, tomorrow you could be aspiring to be a judge's clerk. And being a judge's clerk, that person doesn't, people don't realize that that person is like a conductor in the courtroom. They get to see sometimes what the judge misses. And so now they're there and they can alert the judge that much faster that, hey, this is happening in the courtroom, so I need you to pay attention to this or be aware of this. So all of our staff literally have been exposed to training.
And it's also when Abaco and Grand Bahama have teams traveled to those islands as well?
Yes, teams have traveled to those islands, and we have actually even brought our staff and our judicial officers here when it's needed. So we have teams that have gone to the islands to set up the equipment, to show them how to use the equipment, and to do the training.
So for those who ask, okay, we know New Providence, and why Grand Bahama, Abaco? For those who may say, why not other islands?
Why not our beautiful family islands? Yes. Well, we have portable systems. We have systems that we can pack away into a carry-on, and you can set it up with little microphones. In fact, I'm a registrar. I have a portable system we can set up in my office, and I can capture the record by digital recording. So I can go, I used to be the circuit magistrate for Fresh Creek, for example. I can go and sit in my courtroom in Fresh Creek, set it up, and I can capture the evidence there. And I can move through their cases so much faster and with better accuracy. So we were bringing justice not only to Providence, Grand Bahama, and Abaco, but to the entire Bahamas.
And how has the response been when you take your portable system to these places?
Well, I know one of my colleagues who's done it. People at first are like, oh, you're recording, but once they realize it's for the court and it's a record, they tend to get on board because they realize it's going to be efficient and get through that much faster. You don't have to spend all day in court for a case as opposed to a couple of minutes or maybe half an hour. They get on board.
Okay, I'm being signaled that we are actually about to begin. They are about to start. So what we'll do right now is we'll watch what happens as the official launch for the digital court reporting system starts now.
Good morning. On behalf of the Judiciary of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, the United States Embassy in the Bahamas, and United States Department of State, Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs, also known as INL, and the National Center for State Courts, implementer of the Caribbean Anti-Crime Program funded by INL, I welcome you to this event recognizing critical milestones in the use of digital court recording in the Bahamas. My name is Joanne Richardson. I'm a project director with the National Center for State Courts and the Caribbean Anti-Crime Program. It is my honor and privilege to serve as the moderator for this event. I extend heartfelt greetings to the Honorable Sir Ian Winder, KT, Chief Justice of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, the Honorable Sir Brian Morey, KC, KT, Justice of Appeal and retired Chief Justice, Bridget Piedmont, Director of the United States Department of State, Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs, NCSC Digital Court Recording Expert, Ken Cook, Jillian Lawrence, and Melissa Sotillo, NCSC Senior Program Associate, Emma Nicoletta, Aduit Pradhan, for the record, Production Manager, to the Honorable Miss Indra Charles, Justice of Appeals, Supreme Court Justices, Mr. Garvin Gaskin, Director of Public Prosecutions, Registrars and Deputy Registrar Ronaldo Toot, Magistrates, Khalil Parker, KC, President of the Bahamas Bar, Bar Council, Mrs. Nicole Sutherland King, Director of Legal Aid, Chief Superintendent Roger Thompson, Royal Bahamas Police Force, Legal Affairs, Department of Transformation and Digitization, attorneys, judicial administrators, court reporting unit, court clerks, other invited guests, and members of the press. Thank you all for attending this event. The mission of the National Center for State Courts is to improve the administration of justice in the United States and around the world. The Caribbean Anti-Crime Program, funded by INL, contributes to that mission by building capacity in key counterparts to improve the efficiency and the effectiveness of the criminal justice sector. We are pleased to partner with the judiciary of the Bahamas in its efforts to improve the administration of justice, utilizing technology to modernize court operations. Digital court recording will significantly improve the efficiency of the courts, including producing accurate records and reducing the time for processing cases. NCSC digital court reporting experts Ken Cook and Jillian Lawrence have worked alongside the judiciary of the Bahamas for some time, initially under the leadership of the Honorable Sir Brian Morey and continuing with the Honorable Sir Ian Winder, KT, Chief Justice of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, taking critical steps to modernize the courts and making it a reality. NCSC led training and mentoring programs implemented in partnership with the judiciary and the BJEI, and the development of policies and procedures, the manual done in collaboration with the judiciary's working group. This has been successful. INL and the United States Embassy have fully supported all activities throughout the years, and these milestones could not have been achieved without their support. We have no doubt that the Bahamas Judicial Education Institute will continue to implement training activities in the future, continuing to build the capacity of the judiciary to sustain and advance the use of digital court recording in the courts. I take this opportunity to congratulate the judiciary of the Bahamas on these notable achievements. It is now my privilege and honor to introduce our first speaker for this event. It is an honor to invite the Honorable Chief Justice, Sir Ian Winder, Judiciary of the Bahamas, to give his remarks.
Good morning. Thank you, Joanne. I gratefully adopt the protocol so ably established by Ms. Richardson. Permit me nonetheless to recognize the presence of Sir Brian Murray, former Chief Justice, my fellow colleagues on the bench, and the learned DPP, Mr. Garvin Gaskin. And although Ms. Richardson has already warmly welcomed you, it would be remiss of me, as the president of the BJEI, not to add my own welcome, to especially welcome you here to the Institute's Training Center. Today we have gathered to relaunch the digital court reporting system in the judiciary of the Bahamas. Stenographers, or court reporters, or writers have been a part of the court system in the Bahamas for more than 25 years now. At that time, however, there were no more than 5 sitting judges and 5 sitting magistrates. Prior to that, all judicial officers took shorthand notes of the proceedings before them. Since then, the court reporter has become commonplace in our courtrooms. The presence of the court reporter in the courtroom is the gold standard. The challenge has been that the expansion of the judiciary has completely outpaced the capacity of the court reporting unit. There is the capacity for 2 panels in the Court of Appeal. We have 20 Supreme Court judges, 18 magistrates, and 6 registrars. So that's about 46 courts to service. In an ideal world, each court would be furnished with 1.5 court reporters, as court reporters cannot work 5 days a week. They need time to transcribe the writing that they took in court. So 46 courts, the optimum number of court reporters then would be 69 court reporters. We have 29 court reporters. They have not been an easy resource to secure in the Bahamas. Our reality, therefore, has been that due to the limited number of court reporters, there has been no court reporting in the magistrates' court, except in special circumstances, and civil court reporters are accommodated only where there is availability. Additionally, because of the scarcity, there are understandably delays in getting transcripts returned to judicial officers and to the appellate court. Today, however, we celebrate the reintroduction of the digital court reporting system into the Bahamas judiciary. The use of the modern digital court reporting platform is not a panacea or a replacement for what I have described as the gold standard, the live court reporter. It is a tool to supplement what is clearly a massive shortfall in meeting the current needs of the judiciary as it relates to obtaining proper records of our proceedings. The need for an accurate record of the proceedings is perhaps obvious, but nonetheless worth stating again. In the age of transparency and accountability, an accurate record of the proceedings before the court ought to be a right, not as a matter of chance. Whether for use on appeal or for judicial officers deliberating on evidence presented before them or some submissions made by counsel, the judge is better aided by a verbatim account rather than his handwritten summary of the proceedings taken as the matter would have progressed. The absence of such facilities considerably delays the completion of court matters. The initial rollout of these systems began as far back as 2015. The system being utilized is the For the Record system. For the Record is a recognized world leader in digital court reporting. Their systems are found not only in the United States, but in the Caribbean and across the world. For various reasons, however, the initial rollout of the process of the digital court reporting was met with only limited success. We have learned from that initial experience and have redoubled our efforts in an attempt to achieve the success that has eluded us in the past. My immediate predecessor, Sir Brian Murray, assembled 3 subcommittees: a technology, court reporting, and digital court reporting subcommittee, to consider operational issues relating to court reporting and to make policy and practical recommendations to a digital court reporting working group. The results of those consultations is the development of a policies and procedures manual for the digital court reporting operations. This substantial document is being launched today. The working group was chaired by Justice Diane Stewart and was made up of Deputy Registrar Ronaldo Toot, who served as Deputy Chair, Senior Justice Bernard Turner, Acting Justice of Appeal Indra Charles. I wish to publicly express my thanks and gratitude to all the members of the subcommittees and of the working group for their hard work in producing this substantial document. I must, of course, add my thanks to Mr. Ken Cook and Gillian Lawrence, the National Center for State Courts consultants, for their expert advice and consultations in the preparation of this manual. We've been deliberate in this relaunch. For the past 2 weeks, experts have been in our courts in New Providence, Grand Bahama, and Abaco, conducting training for staff and judicial officers in the operation of the digital court reporting system. There's also been training with the Bar Association. This is perhaps their 3rd training visit during the course of the last year. They've also conducted train-the-trainer sessions to build a cadre of super users to aid in the continuing training on this system. What has also changed since 2015 and the initial rollout of the system is the technology. In 2015, we were limited to the audio file. And whilst the audio file alone is a very valuable asset and able to be transcribed if needed, we now have access to the speech-to-text feature. This feature, which is a new add-on to the system, will permit the audio recording to be converted to text immediately following the proceedings. The system will produce a rough copy with up to 90% accuracy. The system, being intuitive, will allow for the more times that it's used to increase the accuracy of the transcription. All but 5 courts have been outfitted with the equipment to support the FTR digital court reporting. We hope that by the end of the summer, all of our courts will have the capacity to capture an audio record of the proceedings. None of this, however, will be possible without the support of our friends and partners at the United States Embassy in Nassau through the Caribbean Anti-Crime Program. The Caribbean Anti-Crime Program of the Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement, INL, is being implemented by the National Center for State Courts. Ms. Bridget Cremons and her team at INL, and Joanne Richardson and her team at the NCSC. The partnership and support involves not only the technical support in the outfitting of many of the courts with the FTR systems, but also, as indicated, it involved the provision of expert advice and a significant training component. I unreservedly express our thanks and appreciation on behalf of a grateful judiciary to our partners. In closing, I will hasten to add that the digital court reporting system is but one plank in the court's multi-pronged push to utilize modern technology to enhance the delivery of justice in the Bahamas. The long-awaited bail management system is at the final stage of implementation and will go live imminently. You'll recall that this system will permit inmates to launch bail applications from prison and lawyers to make applications electronically. It will also allow accused persons to fulfill reporting conditions more accurately using biometrics. In December 2022, we engaged the Caribbean Association for Justice Solutions to implement an integrated case management system for the judiciary. That process is well advanced and will afford the judiciary and litigants the opportunity to view case files electronically, remotely, and permit lawyers and litigants to file court documents electronically from their offices and their homes. The Courier suite of software being installed by the Caribbean Association for Judicial Solutions will permit the judiciary to track our performance and be able to make appropriate adjustments to better serve our stakeholders. And with those few remarks, I will hand the podium back to Ms. Richardson.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Chief Justice Sir Ian R. Rinder, and thank you for highlighting the advantages of the digital court recording and for the overview of the journey of implementing DCR in the Bahamas, and certainly the other initiatives that are to come that will make a big difference for the courts and improving its operations. It's now my privilege to introduce and to invite our next speaker to provide his remarks, the Honorable Justice Sir Brian Morey.
Good morning. Thank you, Joanne. Chief Justice, and I gratefully adopt the protocol established by the moderator. The launch today of the Bahamas Digital Recording Policies Procedure Manual is a significant event in the life of the courts. It marks a further step in the full implementation of the digital recording system in all courts, which, when completed, will, in my view, substantially enhance the delivery of justice in our country. I think that the digital recording will have a transformative impact on the conduct of court proceedings in this jurisdiction. Specifically, the DRS will improve the efficiency of the courts, increase judicial output, and reduce the disposition cycle for cases in the Magistrates' Court, in the Supreme Court, and also in the Court of Appeal. The benefits of this system will be felt directly in a tangible way by court users, as their cases will be dealt with now more expeditiously, with fewer adjournments, and certainly the appeal process will be greatly enhanced through the production of transcripts almost in real time. I know that it has been a long and challenging journey to get to this launch today, and those involved in the process should know that they have been a part of an enduring and important initiative in the overall modernization of the court system, which is an essential component of the administration of justice in the Bahamas. This project is an excellent example of what can be achieved through meaningful and effective collaboration between strategic partners. I know firsthand of the vital role in this project of the National Center for State Courts and the United States Department of State, through the Bureau of International Narcotics Law Enforcement Affairs. Their resources and their expertise have been invaluable. And with your permission, Chief Justice, I wish to express my appreciation and respect to Mrs. Bridget Premont, to Mrs. Joanne Richardson, to Mr. Kenneth Cook, and to Ms. Gillian Lawrence for their assistance while I was working with them on this project. They are consummate professionals who are dedicated to achieving our objectives here in the Bahamas. Also, I wish to thank Mr. Adawet Pradham of FTR for his expert advice as we move forward to implement the project. Also, I wish to thank the very able and dedicated team from the Bahamas Judiciary who worked with me for some years for their exceptional and very competent assistance in this project. There are too many of them to name, but special recognition must be given to Deputy Registrar and Acting Director of Court Services, Ronaldo Toot, to Mrs. Royanne Morrison, and to the chairs of the committees, which have already been referred to by the Honorable Chief Justice. Specifically, I wish to recognize the contributions of Senior Justices Charles and Turner, and also Justice Forbes in Freeport, Justice Stewart, and Justice Klein for their very hard work in putting together the committee reports. I also wish to commend the Chief Justice for his very focused and able leadership in getting this project to the point today, and wish to congratulate him on his continued efforts towards modernization of the court system. Chief Justice, I wish you continued success, and you know that you have my full support in whatever way I can help. Today is a major step forward to achieve the ultimate objective of having no judicial officers taking longhand notes in court proceedings. The time has come for us to release this burden from judicial officers to allow them to focus on the discharge of their judicial duties. I'm also happy to say in conclusion that it is good for a change to be in the forefront of a major reform initiative within the region. The Bahamas Digital Recording Policies and Procedures Manual is now, or perhaps I should say, is becoming the gold standard for digital recording systems throughout the Caribbean. And I think that we should allow ourselves a brief moment of pride in getting to the point where instead of following others, we are now leading in a very important area in the context of the administration of justice. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Justice Sir Brian Morey, former Chief Justice of the Judiciary of the Bahamas and Judge of the Court of Appeals. And thank you so much for pointing out the impact of the digital court recording on the court process and for highlighting the the importance of the collaboration with the strategic partners. And we greatly appreciate that. And last but not least, I commend you, as you just stated, the Policies and Procedures Manual is the first in the region, and I congratulate the Bahamas of the judiciary. So thank you. You are the leaders, indeed, in this regard. I would now like to invite, and it's my pleasure to do so, Ms. Bridget Premont, INL Director, United States Embassy in Nassau.
Thank you, Joanne. Good morning, everybody. I have my notes on my electronic device, and it's the first time I've ever done that, so you'll forgive me if I squint. But it is a sincere pleasure to be here with all of you. As we say in the Bahamas, I am happy to stand on the established protocol. But good morning, Chief Justices and Mr. Gaskins. It's such an honor. I always feel a little bit nervous when I'm speaking to the judiciary. But I'm very happy to bring you greetings from everybody at our U.S. Embassy team and also from the INL Bureau in Washington. I think the only person who's not here this morning is my colleague, Katina Russell, who has also been foundational in working on this program, so I just wanted to acknowledge her. Certainly from where I sit in the embassy, and I'm a guest in the Bahamas, I've been here for just 2 years, and I inherited this program from previous INL directors who were very, very excited about this program. I think taking the step to implement it shows vision, but also optimism about what is coming. You are dedicated to making big changes here, and that is very exciting. We all know that people want swift fixes to problems, and I think for those of us working in government, we recognize that democratic processes can be very messy. We also know that changing processes is a big commitment. Why am I talking about that? Well, I'm a bureaucrat, so what do? I do process. I struggle to improve process. I know that it's not fast and it's not easy, and in the case of the criminal justice system, there are many agencies involved. It takes a lot of expertise. I'm pointing to Joanne because I think of her as my center of expertise. I'm the resource person, but Joanne is the expertise. But ultimately, that process and the penalties that the judicial process might or might not produce ultimately can deter criminals, and that's what we are all about, right? And deterring impunity. So we are very proud to partner with you to aspire to improve the pursuit of justice. And if we're not aspiring to ideals, then what? We're just going through the motions. The Digital Court Recording Initiative is visionary. It aspires to improve process. And by making transcripts more quickly available, it is also building a process to be more accountable. And that's a foundational step, like I said earlier. When I asked my predecessor, I said, so across the whole range of programs that we are working on here in the Bahamas, which is, I forget how I phrased it. Did I say, which is the best or which is your favorite? And his whole face lit up when he talked about this program. And I know that's because of the commitment that you all have shown to making it work so well. I have a whole paragraph here just about the procedures manual, but I know we've just acknowledged it. I will join once again with the Chief Justices and Joanne in saying congratulations on establishing a model for the region. It's really amazing news, particularly given the enormous workload that I know all of you are facing. You did it in short time and during COVID. That is not a small achievement. It really does exemplify the dedication you bring to serving the people of the Bahamas. And because of that, the United States government is really proud to have shared in this journey with you. So once again, hearty congratulations. I think I'll just leave it there. I'm so happy to be able to share in your celebration of this achievement. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bridget, for those remarks. And I would like to again reiterate the fact that we could not, when I say we, the National Center for State Courts, the judiciary of the Bahamas could not have accomplished this without the support of INL, your support, and the prior INL directors. So we thank you for that ongoing assistance and support that has been unwavering throughout the years. I would next like to invite Mr. Ronaldo Toot, the Deputy Registrar, Judiciary of the Bahamas, who will provide the Bahamas Digital Court Recording Status Update. Mr. Toot.
Good morning. Madam Moderator, with your leave, I see we have some very important persons that are on the outside waiting to come in. I'll give them a few seconds to be seated. I would like to acknowledge the presence of the Data Protection Commissioner, Mr. Michael Wright. Having stand on the protocol that had already been established, Mr. Wright at his office was very critical in the implementation of this digital court recording system, in particular the speech-to-text program. I am very excited to be here this morning just to say these 3 words. We did it. We accomplished a milestone. As we continue to introduce technology to the judiciary, our continued partnership with the National Center for State Courts, the U.S. State Bureau of International Narcotics Affairs, the judiciary has made significant advancements towards efficiently and effectively dispensing justice. So, ladies and gentlemen, the path to change. Before we introduce the digital court recording system, there were about 30 court reporters available, all using professional stenographic equipment. The number of stenographers were rapidly decreasing due to attrition. As a result, court reporters were not available in the magistrate's court, and especially not for registrars. A policy decision was made to assign court reporters to the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal. The lack of resources to meet the demand of growing caseloads had been a major problem, particularly for the production of a verbatim transcript. This not only affected the time a judgment could be delivered, but also affected the time the attorneys needed in order to prepare closing arguments. It became even more critical when cases were appealed and typed notes of evidence are not available for the magistrates to produce the reasons for their decisions. In circumstances affecting registrars, long handwritten notes will more often than not become illegible after several hours of note-taking. In particular, when you have expert testimony and emotional witnesses. I too can attest to this because on many occasions I was scratching my head when I returned to my files because I couldn't even understand my own penmanship. The stark reality is, in an age of advanced digital technology, handwritten notes being the only record of a court hearing ought to be the thing of the past. Next slide, please. In the summer of 2020, the judiciary formed the Digital Court Recording Working Group, along with several subcommittees, as a focus group to provide analytic research and review of case type. They looked at user acceptance, benchmarking, technological upgrades, and stakeholder consultation. The subcommittees comprised of judges, registrars, magistrates, court clerks, court reporters, ICT technicians, and yes, our NCSC consultants. After several months of collaborative research, and yes, Sunday Zoom meetings, the working group, with the guidance of our consultants, were able to create a final product, a comprehensive policy and procedure manual. The policy and procedure manual is a set of practical guidelines necessary to regulate the transition of digital court recording. The system is inclusive of user requirements and the request from both the public and the bar in terms of audio and written text transcripts. In 2022, then Chief Justice Sir Brian Moree announced the phased implementation and reintroduction of the DCR system. Since then, the phased implementation continued through the transition of leadership under Chief Justice Sir Ian R. Winder. As a result, I am pleased to announce that all of our magistrates' courts in New Providence, Grand Bahama, and Abaco are using the digital court recording system. That deserves a round of applause. As a matter of fact, the much highly publicized FTX extradition trial was clearly and accurately captured and converted to text and forwarded to the court reporting unit for finalization to be certified as an official transcript before distribution. The policy and procedure manual is a working document, and we anticipate amendments to it as we continue to perfect the use of digital court recording systems in the Bahamas. The solution. Our working group, having collated their efforts, had formally constructed, like I said, a comprehensive set of policies and procedures related to digital court recordings. They've established a formal support contract with For the Record Company, which provide the level of support needed in order to man the system. We have created a group of super users in the digital court recording system who now have the ability and capability to train other staff employees. We've expanded the number of systems to complete the entire judiciary, including new courtrooms. We have provided greater access to recordings for authorized judiciary personnel and upon request by the wider general public. We have implemented the new speech-to-text technology to assist in transcript production. Indeed, no technology is prone from difficulties. However, we've maintained our relationship with For the Record Company, who has provided direct support assistance and help desk assistance in order to upgrade and escalate any issues that may arise and resolve them in a timely manner. The next phase of our expansion is to be completed in summer of 2023. We intend to complete all of our civil Supreme Courts with the digital court recording system. We have procured an additional 12 DCR systems, in which my esteemed colleague, Mr. Adewet, is going to confirm once he follows behind me, as well as our external clocks, which will actually indicate to the public when the recording is in play. We have trained the program users for the new systems, and personnel will be developed by our judiciary trained trainers. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so pleased with the overwhelming performance by our judiciary court staff. Our court clerks, our secretaries, they have done a phenomenal job. Our court reporting unit, they have done a phenomenal job in accepting this system. This could not be possible with all of our stakeholders being involved and actually being open-minded to the change and welcoming technology into the courtroom. The new speech-to-text is the conversion of audio recordings from recordings to written text and will be available for authorized users. The final product is an actual rough draft, which is distinctly different from a verbatim transcript. It is unlikely that digital audio recordings will lead to the replacement of traditional court reporters. Reporters will still need to transcribe as accurately as possible when necessary. The system is being implemented to supplement and aid traditional court reporters so as to ensure expedient and an efficient record. The Digital Court Recording Working Group, with all of our subcommittees, have created a workflow for the process and request of transcripts and audio recordings. We believe as though the proposed implemented system will make the system more efficient and it will be accessible to all court users. Immediately following the ceremony, a copy of the Policy and Procedure Manual will be forwarded to the Bar Association for distribution to the wider bar and, when necessary, the wider public. We would like to thank all of our stakeholders for the Record Company, the National Center for State Courts, the United States Bureau of International Narcotics Affairs, the Court Reporting Unit, and all of our other stakeholders for the countless support, the countless mentoring, the financial assistance, donations, and educational training over the years which have brought us to this day. Ladies and gentlemen, the digital court recording system. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Mr. Toot for, let me just first say your enthusiasm and your yes we can't attitude and demeanor. And anybody in his presence for 5 minutes, it will infect you, I guarantee you. So thank you for that excellent overview of the implementation process and what is to come under the DCR umbrella. At this time, we'd like to show you a short video which summarizes the milestones in the Bahamas Digital Court Recording Project.
The Judiciary of the Bahamas is pleased to present an overview of the Digital Court Recording Project funded by the Department of State Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs, or INL, and implemented in collaboration with the National Center for State Courts. An accurate record of a legal proceeding, whether in a courtroom, a hearing room, or a deposition room, is essential to preserve the integrity of a justice system. In modern times, the recording of a legal proceeding has transitioned through the use of stenographers, voice writers, and analog or digital recording equipment. Over the last 30 years, the use of digital technology to record, store, administer, and distribute court recordings has grown to become a major way of managing the court record. This trend has grown as the number of available traditional court reporters have declined, yet the caseloads within the courts have increased. This phenomenon has been especially prominent within the Caribbean region. As part of the overall Caribbean anti-crime program, the Department of State Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs, along with the National Center for State Courts, have provided resources including consultants to assist and support the transition to digital court recording technology and processes within the judiciary of the Bahamas. The program will be completed in 2023 with the provisioning of digital court recording systems in more than 35 courts and hearing rooms within the implementation of new comprehensive policies and procedures and the use of cloud-based storage and speech-to-text technology. The final results will be one of the most advanced implementations of digital court recording technology in the Caribbean. The judiciary will be using advanced digital court recording technology provided by For the Record Limited, or FTR. This technology is a complete system where microphones capture the spoken word using advanced audio systems. The audio is then sent to the recording system to create the final product. Subsequently, these recordings are preserved in secure locations on the judiciary's network and in the cloud for access by authorized judiciary personnel. These personnel are responsible for reviewing the recordings, creating verbatim transcripts, and managing production of authorized copies of the recordings. The rapid availability of the recordings mean authorized litigants, attorneys, and judicial personnel can have almost immediate access to the information. This significantly reduces delays in the judicial process. DCR technology allows for integration with other court systems, such as taking electronic notes that are automatically linked to the recording, case management systems, and speech-to-text systems for the creation of transcripts within a few minutes. The use of technology within the courts must be supported by a comprehensive set of policies and procedures that clearly define the entire set of courtroom interactions that supports the judicial process. The judiciary formed the Digital Court Working Group, composed of 38 judiciary personnel encompassing a cross-section of over 10 departments and roles from judges to clerks to court reporters. In conjunction with active participation of NCSC consultants, the Digital Court Recording Working Group created 3 subcommittees dedicated to technology, the production of transcripts and recordings, and the management of courtroom personnel. The working group presented the manual to key stakeholders for feedback. The working group published the first edition of the Digital Court Recording Policies and Procedures Manual in July 2022. This document is one of the most comprehensive collection of DCR processes. It is a framework for regional jurisdictions. The recent addition of advanced speech-to-text technology will impact these policies and procedures, plus open an avenue for nearly immediate access to content and distribution of recordings. The speech-to-text will allow for a more effective production of rough transcripts for use by litigants, attorneys, judges, and court reporters.
The expectation is that when it's relaunched, all the courts in the province, save for 5 civil courts, which we hope to be outfitted by mid-June, will have the digital court reporting. On this phase of digital court reporting, we'll have what's called a speech-to-text. So by end of day, the judge, judicial officer, can get a rough copy of the transcript, which will be available almost immediately in that context. So all the delays in terms of getting appeals, all the delays in terms of getting transcripts back to have closing submissions, hopefully that will be a thing of the past, and we can speed up the hearing of the cases.
The Judiciary of the Bahamas Digital Court Recording Project encompasses significant changes in the court technology, court processes, and the roles that personnel play in the capture and management of the court record. This partnership has helped to improve the efficiency of the court and promote the fair and transparent administration of justice.
Honorable Chief Justice Sir Ian Winder, Honorable former Chief Justice Sir Brian Morey, U.S. Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs Director Bridget Premont, National Center for State Courts Program Manager Joanne Anderson, members of the Judiciary, NCSC, and distinguished guests. Thank you for such a warm welcome to Nassau this time around. Having spent a number of weeks here over the duration of the project, this does feel like home away from home, so it's really nice to be back and to be here to celebrate this moment. We were having a conversation earlier about how we don't often get to celebrate the wins, and this is a big win for everyone. So congratulations to everyone who's been involved. I think everyone's already spoken about the partnership and kind of really the strong collaboration that's led to this moment. So, we're just happy to be a part of it and just happy to be a part of the celebration today. So thank you for that. It is a pleasure to be here to represent For the Record. Today has been 5 years in the making. So in 2018, a shared vision united For the Record, the Judiciary, the U.S. Department of State, and the National Center for State Courts. And over the years, the scope of this project has expanded in accordance with that vision. So there was a lot of discussions initially, and it's really good to see that all of those discussions have, now been realized. For the Record, initially we installed digital recording systems, but now we are providing cloud-based records management solution and deploying an advanced speech-to-text platform. We anticipate that this modernization project will dramatically accelerate access to justice and enhance courtroom efficiency. Moreover, we expect the Bahamian courts to become a model for other Caribbean nations as well. I want to highlight the technology that is now at the court's disposal. For the Record installed advanced digital recording systems in more than 30 courtrooms, so it'll be simple to preserve every word spoken during legal proceedings. Our cloud platform will automatically store these recordings and provide access to authorized parties. And finally, our speech-to-text technology will put a keyword searchable same-day draft at the fingertips of the judiciary and other stakeholders. This technology will allow for immediate and significant improvements in the judicial process and provide actionable insights and intelligence. We look forward to our continued collaboration with all the partners and further improving the capabilities of our own platform to provide greater value to the judiciary. And we certainly will work hard on the 12 courtrooms to get it done as soon as possible. Finally, I would also like to share my personal pride in being a part of this project. Having been part of this project from the onset, it's been a privilege and an honor to now see this, realized and be a part of this celebration today. And I'm really excited about the future of the technology and its role within the justice systems as well. So again, thank you everyone. Thank you for all the partners. And we hope to continue working strongly with all the partners on this project as we move forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We are now about to conclude this event this morning. And it's my privilege and an honor to provide you with the closing remarks and a vote of thanks. And again, congratulations to the Judiciary of the Bahamas. This is an exciting time, not just for the court, but the digital court recording process will really serve the citizens of the Bahamas and improve the administration of justice. So congratulations to the Bahamas, not just to the judiciary, but to the citizens of the Bahamas. On behalf of the United States Department of State, the U.S. Embassy in the Bahamas, and the National Center for State Courts, and of course, the Judiciary of the Bahamas and the BJI, I would like to extend heartfelt thanks to the Honorable Chief Justice Sir Ian Winder and the Honorable Justice Sir Brian Morey for your leadership and for your vision, critical to the advancement and the success of the DCR project and the improvement of the administration of justice. To Ms. Bridget Premont, the INL Director, and to Katina Russell, also with the U.S. Embassy, and to the former INL Directors. We thank you for your assistance and support of all of the activities, providing essential resources, committing those resources to ensuring the continuity of this important initiative over an extended period of time. It has been a 5-year journey, and we are delighted and pleased that we're able to work alongside you. To Mr. Ronaldo Toot, Deputy Registrar, Judiciary of the Bahamas, for your unwavering commitment to the project and excellence in serving as an invaluable point of contact for the project. You were central to the collaborative process and the partnership between the Judiciary of the Bahamas at the United States Embassy and NCSC, and as well as FTR. To the Digital Court Recording Working Group chaired by Justice Diane Stewart, retired, and the committee chairs, Justice Indra Charles, Senior Justice Bernard Turner, Justice Lauren Klein, we thank you for working so closely with alongside our digital court reporting experts in producing the policies and procedure manual, again, the first in the region, so congratulations to the working group and the subcommittees for their hard work. To the members of the Court Reporting Unit, Judith Clare and Dr. Royanne Morrison, we thank you for your support as well. To Adwit Pradham, Product Manager for FTR, we thank you for being there during the challenging times and responding in a timely manner, and for continuing to work with NCSC and the judiciary. To the NCSC experts, Ken Cook, Jillian Lawrence, Melissa Sotelo, there are certainly no words to speak to your commitment, your untireless support and contribution to this project. It was invaluable. And we thank you for being the lead on this important initiative for the last 5 years. So thank you so much. And to NCSC Senior Program Associate Emma Nicoletta and Rachel Morley, who's not here, but to Emma, who has been working in the background and in the forefront, ensuring collaboration, making sure that this event and all of the training programs have been successful. So thank you so much, Emma, for your work. And to the Honorable Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs, Dale Marshall, to the Acting Assistant Secretary, James Walsh, and also Ms. Sonia Tynes, the Protocol Officer for the Judiciary. I'd like to thank you as well for your contribution to this event. And to all invited guests and other members of the Judiciary, we thank you so much for all that you have done to contribute to the success of this program. We have no doubt that your efforts in the present and in the future will move and advance the digital court recording system in the courts. So at this time, we will adjourn the event. We have some refreshments for you that will be served at the patio in the back. So we invite you to stay a while, to mingle, to pat each other on the back. And sometimes that's a good thing. And we just thank you again for working with NCSC and allowing us to partner with you and always being so warm and welcoming to the NCSC experts and to myself. I have Bruce here as well. And so I thank you all so much. And we look forward to continuing to work with you in the future. So thank you.
Okay, there you have it. That was RTV's live coverage of the launch of the digital court reporting system. And we got pretty much an airful over the last hour. We had the Chief Justice, who did a pretty good job, actually an awesome job, outlining why this system is needed. He mentioned how many court reporters there are in place, 29, and I think based on the number of courts, he said it was closer to 60 or just over 60, and why this system would help with that shortage. Then we heard from the former Chief Justice, and he was saying how the technology would work. We also heard from officials from the U.S. Embassy who complimented us for being the first in the region and leading the way. And we also heard from the Deputy Registrar, Ronaldo Toot, who also showed us how the system works. It was a very detailed presentation. So it was showing us what it is, what it's about, and why it was needed. And that's exactly what an event like this should do. So I want to thank my guest host today, Ms. Constance Delancey, who is the registrar. I want to thank her for coming on the show, explaining to us and letting us know even before this happened what it would all be about. And I do want to thank our entire production team, everybody here who has made this possible. And I want to say to you, thanks for tuning in, and all enjoy your morning.